everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted more success in your life, then do we have the Quantum Success Show for you. Today I'll be talking with Christy Whitman, the New York Times bestselling author of The Art of Having It All, co-author of Taming Your Alpha Bitch, and the author of a fascinating new book on manifesting it all, Quantum Success. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about 7 essential laws for a thriving, joyful, and prosperous relationship with work and with money. That, plus we'll talk about Eagle the Boss, 3,000 Knives, Success in Uncommon Hours, the 4% Universe, TED Talks and high school chemistry, a proclivity for positivity, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and what in the world Boku bucks has to do with anything. Gotcha. So welcome to the show, Christy. Are you ready to shine?
I am. I'm so happy to be here. I love your energy.
Woohoo! Well, so happy to have you here too. Did tell you I read the book, didn't I?
Yes, you did. I'm very impressed.
So before we dive right into things, I've got to ask, this goes back before the book or what's in it. Would you mind sharing a little bit what life was like for you growing up?
You know, life for me was really just, I had a pretty good life. Dad worked, in his own business, but I was always in the space of lack and limitation. And what I mean by that is that my mom never showed gratitude for what we have. It was always, well, they have more than we do, or you're not doing enough. And really got seeped in that mindset of lack and limitation. So no matter how well I did, I never felt it was enough. No matter how much my dad made, it was never enough. And even though we had really wonderful things, when you're coming from that perspective and the energy is very negative, to be totally honest, there was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of emotional and mental abuse, no physical abuse, but it was hard. It was very difficult. And I felt very disconnected to myself, to something bigger than myself. And it was always like hyper vigilant, because if I said something or my mom said something, my dad would explode and have temper tantrums and really rage. And so it was a pretty scary time when I was a kid. And I did have some success, and I was able to manifest some pretty great things in my life. But I was always on that edge of, something's going to blow. And I just never felt safe. And I never felt really protected or like I could be at calm and peace, because I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
That makes sense. And that kind of guides us through. Did you have a vision at any point? We're going to get to 20 years ago and what was happening. Did you have a vision before then, where you wanted to go, what you wanted to do, other than I want to do things differently?
No, I do remember thinking to myself as a young child that I was very clear. I did not want the kind of relationship that my parents had. They were always bickering. I mean, they've been married for 64 years and, they do love each other. And there were moments that I would see that. But for the most part, the communication was all about you did this, and it was blaming, and it's because of you. And, it was just not a very healthy communication style. And like I said, there wasn't any my feelings are hurt. Let's talk about this. It was like, just constant bickering and yelling. And I just was clear. That contrast made me super clear that I don't want anything like this relationship.
Reminds me of my childhood. I call it a duck and cover childhood.
Yes, that's a good way. That's a good way to explain.
My friends here are like, we're not going over to the crazy house. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Fast forwarding 20 years ago, you're finding yourself, if I understand right, overweight, in huge debt, attracting the wrong kind of guys. What was going on? And then what was like the final straw for you?
For me, I had reached the level of, my mom always saying, well, if you have this, then you'll be happy. If you have money, if you have their body, then you'll be happy. And I found myself at 22, 23, I was working in Chicago. I had a really successful job. I managed a wine company distributor for all of the Midwest. So I was making great money. I enjoyed my career. I was dating. I was living with my best friend in Chicago, and my job was literally going from bars and restaurants and hotels and meeting with the managers. And we would have to go out a couple times a week and, have dinner and meet the managers and stuff on the company. So it was like, I would say I ate my way through Chicago. We just had a really great time, but I still felt something was missing. Like I just couldn't feel, I felt like, is this it? It's like that song, Que Sera Sera. This is all there is? Is this the purpose of life? And that yearning to know something more. Like I tried to go back to different spiritual or religious affiliations, and that didn't work for me. And it was just this calling. I felt my soul calling me, and I didn't know how to answer it. And I found myself I got a promotion. I actually moved from Chicago to California. I moved there also because the last bad guy I dated, I don't want to call him bad guy, but unemotionally available, cheated, the whole thing. And I just kept attracting the wrong kind of men. And I wasn't being treated right, but I also wasn't treating myself right. And so I remember walking into, he had introduced me to one person. She was a hairdresser. And Janine, when I sat down in her chair, I was like, you're different. Like she had a light about her and she had a peace about her. And it was like, I felt like in that movie when Harry Met Sally, like I'll have what she's having. It was that feeling of like, what are you doing? Like you're different. And she knew exactly what I meant because she had created this relationship with the divine in her through meditation. And so when I said, how do you do that? How can I get some? She introduced me to this woman named Melanie and gave me her phone number. And I remember I had this big cell phone at that time. And as I was walking out of the salon, I was calling Melanie and I left her a message because I wanted to have this. And so during that time, it was like everything just got wiped away. I gained like so much weight. I was 60 pounds overweight. I went in like $60,000 in debt. I just, nothing was working. I quit my job because I just couldn't stand doing it anymore. It was a very different company and position that I had in California versus Chicago. And I just was so unhappy. I didn't want to date men. And not that I wanted women either, but it was like, I just didn't want any kind of relationship. And I found myself just really disconnected and lonely. And then I went and saw Melanie. And she started saying things to me like, well, you create your own reality. And I'm like, I don't know that, but that feels true to me. And I remember feeling a resonance in me like, wow, and what does that look like? And she was saying, we're either repelling things from us all the time, or we're attracting things to us based on our energy, based on our thoughts. And I started paying attention to like slowing down enough to actually listen to myself. Wow. I mean, I was so judgmental of myself, of everybody else, of the universe, critical. I was not happy inside and I did not feel at peace inside. I felt like that argument that my mom and dad were constantly having, that bickering was inside of me, but I took it to a totally different level. So I didn't feel connected at all. And by literally slowing down enough and learning the process of meditation, and being able to see my thoughts and be able to shift them, I really discovered that most people that are unhappy or find themselves in situations that they don't want to be in, it's because they're in lack and limitation in the way they think and the perspectives that they have, the beliefs that they hold. And as long as we're in some kind of lack or we're being limited either by ourselves or by somebody else, we feel bad. And because the reason is we're unlimited beings. I mean, this is a universe of pure potentiality. It's one of the laws I talk about in the book, Quantum Success. And when we can shift a perspective, we can one thought. If we shift a thought from lack to abundance, we feel different. And so that became really the work that I did on myself. And as I started to do that, things started manifesting like crazy. I got recruited from a headhunter, which brought me to Sacramento to live. I met this really wonderful man that I was in an 8-year relationship and 5-year marriage with. My body just came back to my normal size 4 little body. I was in perfect health. I mean, just things started manifesting. I remember 5 years in, I looked around and went, wow, I've now manifested everything that I said I wanted, but I also now have a spiritual connection. So I remember that. And it just, life has been better and better ever since. And it keeps getting better and better and more expansive and more fun and more joyful. Do I have moments where I am in lack or something comes up? Absolutely. There's always more growth. There's always more expansion. But I am not the same person today as I was 20 years ago. And I'm so grateful for the difference.
Woohoo! So
Yes.
I want to talk about you alone are the creator you, and that's really where we're going here. Tell us about Thoreau and meeting with a success unexpected in common hours.
Yes. So Thoreau even said that most common hour thinking, that's, being focused on the conditions in our lives, everything that we can see, taste, touch, hear, smell, right? We think that that's all there is. And when we get into the concept of, well, this is it, and therefore I'm limited by it, that's very common hour thinking. But when we can rise above it and understand that there is energies beyond our current situation, that there are possibilities beyond this, then we feel differently. We feel more hopeful. We feel more expansive. There's a level of trust that comes in. And we can then start working with the universe and the vibrations that exist other than this vibration. Because if we still focus on what we don't want and the current things that are in our lives that feel like contrast to us, then we can never get over it because we're feeding the cycle. Law of attraction is just constantly giving us more of the same. And so it's important for us to think, and even challenge our thoughts, challenge what we're saying. Is that true? Is it really true that I'm not enough? Or is it true that I don't have what it takes? Or is it true that the economy is bad and I can't find a job? Are these things really true so that I can go beyond them and experience a different reality?
I love asking the questions. In fact, when I hear those in my head or when I'm working with coaching clients, the next question is, whose is that? Because it's often, just like you said, your parents getting in there, having a good old row going on, and you're the third party repeating it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important to challenge them because maybe they're not ours, or maybe they're just something that we developed as a way of being and the way of thinking. But the good news is just like a computer can have an upgrade, we can upgrade our thought process. And if we are aware that there's either lack or there's abundance, and that in between is that space of being satisfied, having that place of sufficiency, which is looking for what you can appreciate and what you can be grateful for, the thoughts change. And as the thoughts change, your vibration changes, your mood changes, your feelings change. And then as a result, your reality changes. You open up to things that probably would have never had been available to you before because the energy shifts. So it's critical.
What can you tell us? Thank you. What can you tell us about vision and goals?
A vision to me is something that you can live into. It's like, all time exists. All time is simultaneous. So our past, our present, and our future all exist right now. And when you can connect with a future you, a future self that is living past the contrast that you're currently living, if you can really feel that part of you and develop a relationship with that part of you, that part feeds you. That part is guiding you from literally what feels like the future, but it actually is now. And what happens is that future self then helps us feel better in the now. Because if you're looking at the future and you think it's gloom and doom and, coming from the programming that there's not enough and, there's fear and all that stuff, we're going to feel horrible in our present moment. But if we're connected with the future, we can actually envision what we want and see a part of ourselves already living that. It helps us feel happy in our now. We feel excited. We feel like we're moving towards something that's going to be fun when we get there. So that future vision helps us feel better in our now, which all of our power is in our now. And that's what is, vibrating right now to create the reality that we have. So that's the vision. It's a big part of, really what is, I wrote the book, Art of Having It All. What is having it all in all aspects of your life? What is that vision that you have for each of the important aspects of your life? You're in this particular case, when I wrote in Quantum Success, it's taking the universal laws and creating a vision of what you want in your career and with your money. Because a lot of times money is the way we get money through our career, right? So having that vision is like the big thing, and having very specific images, because we think in very specific images. Like, what does that mean? So like sometimes when I'm coaching coaches, because I've trained over 3,000 coaches to manifest their own businesses and, serve. I'll say to them, like, what's your vision? Oh, I'm speaking all over the world. And I said, well, I've got a vision in my head of the globe and you're like circling it. Like, give me a specific vision that you have. I'm in Greece at the Parthenon. Perfect. Right. So now you can visualize that. And because you can visualize that, you can connect with it. And because you can connect with it and you're feeling the essence of being in that space, you can then create it. Your subconscious goes to work to create it. And inside of that, then we want to look at what are our goals. Our goals are something that, we can actually move towards. We can measure when they've come, when we actually achieved it. So I always recommend having a vision for what you want in all aspects of your life, having very specific visions of those things so that they're grounded. You want to go travel. Where do you want to travel? I want to travel all over the world. Well, I want to be in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Right? Now we have a visual. You now have a vision in your head of where I want to go or what I want to do or what I want to accomplish. And then what's the goal? I'd like to go to Paris by this date. And how am I going to get there is this. I'm going to earn this amount of money. I'm going to, whatever it is. But these are certain goals that we need to then be able to take momentum and action. Because one of the things, as you well know, what I wrote in my book is that the whole secret to quantum success, having success in every aspect of your life, is alignment and then momentum. Aligning with your feelings and your emotions and having that vision that when you feel it and see it, you feel lit up, you feel excited, you feel passionate. That's alignment. And then from there, you take inspired action. And all the actions that you take, that's the momentum. And you find yourself, wow, in front of the Eiffel Tower, taking a picture, or speaking on stage in front of the Parthenon or whatever it is your vision is.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk about several things based on that. First off, as we're creating this vision, and I've got to say, I love the word essence, which you brought in there. When you're creating your vision, when you're working with this in your head, how important is the power of our thoughts and our words?
Huge. Words are everything. I mean, I don't really quote the Bible that often, but one of the first things it says in the Bible is that, words have power. I mean, in the beginning, there was the word. And one of the things I do with so many clients is, when someone is shoulding on themselves, well, I should do that. We are beating ourselves up for something that we either did or didn't do. And shoulding really limits us on the things that are possible. So a should goes along with a role. And when we are living into a role, we're very limited in our scope of who we are, who we can be, and who we can become. So language, just even in a word should, or God, I have to, instead of saying I have to pick up my kids from school, I get to go pick up my kids from school. It's really a different perspective when you're coming from, this is a big one, and you'll probably see this now, but when you see someone being interviewed, they're like, well, you did this, you do that. And I'm thinking, that's not me. I don't have a disease I remember hearing Tom Cruise, he was talking about his Mission Impossible, and he goes, when you're hanging off an airplane and it's starting to fly, I'm like, I'm not hanging off an airplane. But it's like everybody seems to be, we project, when you get a broken arm, it's like, no, I'm not getting a broken arm. When we come from the I, we start to own who we are. I feel this way. When I was hanging off the side of a plane, we get to own our experience. And that owning of our own experience gets to mean we own our own energy. We own our own vibration. We are able to communicate with someone that's not projecting or fusing with them, but we get to be our own individuality without shoulds, without have-tos, without any of those preconceived things or limitations that we put on ourselves. So language is absolutely essential. When you say something like, well, I can't afford it, oh boy, danger. I hope you eradicate that. Anytime you hear yourself say the word can't, oh, I just can't take it anymore. Sure you can. You can take it. The universe is going to show you how you can take it. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be in that relationship. I don't want to work like this anymore. There's a difference between owning, well, I can't, because it's almost like we're a victim, to I don't wanna. It's very different.
Awesome. So let's go from there. Let's talk about controlling your own emotional dial, and I won't say you. So I get to change the channel on my emotional dial. How's that?
That's awesome. You're a very good learner. Very quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, that remember I was raised in the 70s, right? So we had those TVs where, if you wanted to change the station, you actually had to go and actually change it. There was like two little knobs, and one was for the regular channels, one was like for the PBS and all those other channels. And whenever we were wanting to see a different show, we had to go up and actually change the channel. Now we have remotes, and we're not limited by a certain amount of channels. We have thousands and thousands, and Hulu's and Amazon, and all these different channels that we're watching on TV. The process by which, what I want you to think about though, is if you're living on a station, if the station of your life, say in the area of your career, is one of doom and gloom, hard work and struggle, never getting ahead, well, that has a certain vibration to it. And when you deliberately choose to change the channel, whether it's a remote or whatever it is, when you deliberately, it's like pushing a reset button. When you deliberately choose to switch and focus and align with the channel of what you do want. So in the area of your career, what's the TV show that you want to play? What's that picture? What's that feeling? Do you want to be watching Charlie's Angels, or do you want to watch a Western? What is it that you want to be watching for your own vision of your own life? Because we're the ones that choose it. We don't have to stay stuck on CNN when that doesn't make us feel good. We can change and look at, the old MTV when they used to have music and all that, where we feel good. And so it's up to us. It's our channel. It's our life. It's our picture. It's our design. And when you deliberately choose and change your frequencies, you get a different picture.
Thank you. I want to talk about two things, shifting and I guess the emotional guidance scale. Maybe we go with emotional guidance scale first by Esther and Jerry Hicks, because I find it fascinating how you can feel into emotion and whether it's woohoo or boo.
Yes. So Abraham has beautifully, and Power versus Force, David Hawkins has said that each different emotion has a different frequency, right? And I love how Abraham Hicks lays it out. It's like it goes from top emotions such as love and appreciation and gratitude and passion and excitement. Those are the ones that are on the side of positive emotions. And then you have all the way down to, playing a victim, being powerless, feeling powerless, to anywhere from boredom, rage, anger, resentment, betrayal, feeling all of those emotions. All of them have a different frequency. And when we are in the place of fear, doubt, worry, all those, they have a very low level vibration. And if we stay in that and we continue the habitual habit of thinking in worry, like my grandmother, my little grandma, she was so precious, but if there was anything on the planet to worry about, she would worry about it. My mother's the same way. I called her. We're staying in Montreal for a couple months. And I said, yeah, there's a lot of mosquitoes. She's like, oh, mosquitoes? Oh, they carry disease. And I go, Mom, there's a lot of people that live in Montreal, probably get bit all the time. Nobody's dying of the West Nile virus, So it's like if there's something to worry about, she's always on that frequency of worry. She always attracts more things to worry about because that's the cycle of where she's at, right? And instead, to be able to shift into a place of appreciation, gratitude, love, expression of self, those are very different vibrations. And we're the ones, that's what I write about in Quantum Success, about the law of deliberate creation. We're the one that gets to choose the dominant emotion that we're feeling. We can, again, tune our attention to worry and upset and all that, or we can tune our perspective and our station to appreciation and looking for positive aspects.
Woohoo! I love this expression you have here because I want to ask about turning the dial. And so how do we develop a proclivity for positivity?
Oh, such a good thing. When we can allow ourselves to focus on what we do want and focus on the why of why we want something, we're shifting our attention because there's contrast that shows up. So contrast is what we don't want, right? It could be something minor to your coffee wasn't right when you ordered it at Starbucks. So it's contrast, right? Or the person at Starbucks was rude, or, you get in traffic and the drivers or whatever, or all the way to a divorce or a loss of a life or a loss of a pet or, whatever it is. These are things that happen in our human experience. And when we are focused on that contrast, we're focused on the problem, we can't shift. And so when we are in that place, when we're in contrast, we need to ask ourselves some questions. And the first question is, what do I want? You know, if you're noticing what you don't want, most of us do that, right? Oh, I don't want to get in traffic. I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to lose my keys. I don't want her to break up with me. I don't want to keep going for interviews and not finding a job. You know, we're all focused on what we don't want. Focus on what you do want. Ask yourself, what do I want? And then the most important question is, why do you want that? Mm-hmm. You know, the why of it starts the energy. It gets you shifting from what you don't want to what you do want, but it gets the energy moving. And you do it long enough for about 68 seconds, you actually start the universe starting to conjure something differently. And the most important key there is, how do I want to feel? Because when you think about it, anything we want, if someone wants a new job, they want a promotion in their current business, if they want to start their own business, they want to create even more success in the business that they have, whatever it is, we all want what we want because we think we're going to feel better or different in the having of it. So if we want what we want, I know I want this, this is why I want it, how is it that you want to actually feel? And feel that way first. Because our society, the way most of us have been raised is, hey, if I get that, then I'll feel this way. And it's always empty. I share the experience of how when I, first became an author about 17 years ago, I was like, I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want to make more impact. I want to have more people buy my books. So I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. And I would spend my time thinking about the why of it and the feeling of it and all that. And the point, when I got there, it was empty. It was like that thing that here, you're a New York Times bestselling author. It was like, that's really not what I thought it was going to give me, because I was still mostly focused, even though I was feeling that, I was still mostly focused on how my life would change. And when it didn't, it was like, so many times do we get that job and feel like, oh, that wasn't what I thought it'd be. Or we get that relationship, oh, that wasn't that. We're reaching for stuff. We're searching for stuff outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel better in the now, when the real manifestation, if you will, in the manifestation process is feel it now, and then you attract things easier with less effort, than you possibly could, because you're working with energy. And this whole entire universe is a vibratory universe. Everything's made up of energy. Einstein said it, the quantum physics says it, modern science, everything, whether it's the desk, the computer, us as a human being, everything is energy. And so when you think of yourself as an energy tower sending out signals all day, every day, we get to decide what signal we want to send out.
So when you became a New York Times bestselling author, and it should have been, and we experienced this with a huge publishing deal, 2-book deal with Random House years ago, where we should have been going, woohoo! And instead, we basically, our egos at least, turned inward and said, okay, now you've got to get to work. What did you do to realize that you're living, I call it the disease of the more, you're living for the more in the future, and go, what do I do to get myself back in here now?
Yes. Well, I just had to feel what I actually want to feel, because I thought that I thought it would feel different when it happened. Yep. And so it was like, what am I wanting to feel here? And it was a greater feeling of success. It was a greater sense of accomplishment. So I had to start feeling that sense of like, I'm successful with or without that. I've got the credibility with or without that. I'm good at what I do with or without that. And start to feel that feeling of just being like in service and on purpose. I started this whole entire business because years ago, when I was a pharmaceutical rep, and I talk about this in Quantum Success, selling more medication and going from more doctor and getting more, market share and being the number one rep and all that stuff, it was so empty. It was so shallow. I'm like, what I want is, I was making great money, like I said, but it was like, I want meaning. I want a sense of purpose. And I didn't know what that was. So I would conjure up what it would feel like, not what the form would be like, what the job would be like, or what I actually would be doing, but that feeling of just whatever being on purpose, that whatever I was doing was having meaning. And that's when my book downloaded. And that's when I, got the book in my hands. And I'm like, okay, my parents and all my friends and family, everybody bought the book. Oprah wasn't calling. So, and my friends and family were not my ideal client. I'll tell you that. So I started going to spiritual bookstores. And then that's when everything evolved. People started asking me to coach them. I had no idea about coaching. I mean, this is 17 years ago. I was like, coach, like people get paid to be a life coach. I was like, what? Because my frame of reference was a football coach or a cheerleading coach, right? All of that, everything that I'm doing today was created by the decision, the deliberate creation and the deliberate putting myself in a space of feeling like what I did as a career was on purpose, had meaning.
Woo! Let's talk about moving past the subconscious and we'll move past maybe deconstructing our story about lack. You had amazing inner conflict when it comes to money because of both mom and boku bucks and dad. How did you move past that wiring? How do we move past our subconscious wiring?
Okay, so I want to share that, we a lot of times find ourselves like in whatever situation you're in. Say it's with money. Now here's this conversation about money that I just love. Money doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have preconceived notions. It doesn't have emotional baggage. It doesn't go, I like Michael, but I don't like Christy. So I'll go to Michael. I'm not going to go to Christy. It doesn't do that. Money is green energy. Money goes either it comes where it's attracted to or it's repelled by us, right? And there's that frequency conversation. And I remember in my career looking at my life going, I attract a lot of money. I bring a lot of money in, but I always find myself with not enough. I find myself in lack. I find myself in debt. So it was like, bring it in, let it go. And then I'd have to call myself out of it again. And I was constantly going up and down and up and down. And what I realized was I had split energy when it came to money, because my early upbringing was my mom thought people, and she always says that, it's so funny. She's like, oh, they have buku bucks, and these are the people that she thinks that are just above, that they're better because they have something that she doesn't have. And it's always that chasing of, she doesn't have enough, but they do. And so they always had wealthy friends and, had a good life and went on vacations and all that. But her friends, it was like, the Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses, or now keeping up with the Kardashians. It was like it was never enough. But the people that had it, oh boy, they were the best, right? And my dad, on the other hand, the same people, he would be judging them and criticizing them. Oh, they're greedy. They're so selfish. They're, da, 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 da. So there was constant judgment. So I'm here as a little kid seeing what mom and dad feel and express about money. And I'm like, ooh, mom says it's good to have. Dad says, if you have it, you're greedy and selfish. And I don't want to be that. So I would attract it. I'd attract the buku bucks, but then I go, and I just release it all because I was incongruent inside of myself. There was split energy. And until I got that together, that it's like, wait a minute, that's her relationship with money and people that have money. That's her judgments and criticisms. That's her expectations. And that's my dad's. What is mine? What kind of relationship, what internal relationship and external relationship do I want to have with money? Because every single relationship starts inside of us. And a lot of times, we don't have a frame of reference. So we go, ooh, what does money mean? Oh, buku bucks. It's a split and it'll drive you crazy. It drove me crazy. How could I be so successful but constantly find myself with not enough? How could I bring in so much and then still find myself in debt? And until I got that together, it's about energy. It's about releasing all the stuff of my dad and of my mom, because people with money aren't necessarily better or less than. They're just people that have money.
Amen. Let's talk from there. Let's talk energy. Let's talk congruence. Let's talk about creating the climate for quantum success. And since we're talking about congruence, I love this line from Jack Canfield you put in here. You can't become a $10,000 a day keynote speaker if everything around you is consistent with a speaker who earns $1,000 a day.
Yes. So everything that we project first starts from ourselves, right? So if you're wanting to feel successful, A perfect example is you're going to go and talk somewhere, or you're going to go out on a job interview. Dress for it. I mean, every part of it, it's like we got to not only put on the costume of like, hey, I'm really successful here, but we also have to put on the energy of it. We have to be able to not only come from the energetic stance of I am successful. I mean, I was telling someone the other day, I've actually, anytime I interviewed for a job, I was offered the job, because I would go into each one of those job opportunities or those interviews feeling successful, feeling like I'm the person for this job. Nobody else is good enough for this. This is me. This is my job. You want me because I'm going to do the best job, right? And I would come in with that level of confidence. But I also came in making sure that I had a nice pair of shoes and they weren't scuffed, and that my suit skirt wasn't completely above my knees so it was inappropriate, or really, really low below. It's like I put on the look of someone that is going to be successful and that fit that part. And sometimes the parts are different, but we have to decide for ourselves, what energy do I have to wear? Mm-hmm. And then what do I have to, on an external level, wear as well, right? Because we're both metaphysical and physical. So we want to make sure that everything is congruent in and out.
Woohoo! What is the exponential power of alignment and momentum?
Oh, Michael, it is the key. It really is the key. When you are, say, for example, going for a job interview, or you want to create more success in your job, right? And we can succeed taking action steps all day long. And a lot of people are doing that. They're spinning their wheels. They're working too hard. They're overwhelmed. They're like, God, I don't have enough time to do more because I'm already doing so much. That action is going to get you a result, right? Just as if someone that sits around and meditates all day long, they're going to feel good. They're going to feel great. You could do affirmations and meditation and, listen to high flying music all day long. But if you're not taking any momentum, if you're not taking any action, it's not going to get you anywhere. Bags of money are not going to drop on your forehead. They're just not. So it's combining both. It's combining the metaphysical and the physical. And that means the alignment is connecting with the energy of success, connecting with the energy, that essence that we talked about. For someone, it might be that they want to be able to make the kind of money that they make because they want to feel free. They want to make the choices that they want to make in their life. For somebody else, it might be because they want to matter. They want to have that purpose in their lives, whatever they do, whether it's making widgets or being a coach. They want to feel that sense of purpose, that passion for what they're doing, right? So it's aligning with that and knowing that before you make that phone call, before you get on that stage, before you go into the factory, before you do whatever the action is, you feel good. And that takes the inner alignment. And then from that place, you cannot not take momentum because you're going to be so inspired that the idea to do this next step is going to come and you're going to go, yes, and you take it. And then you take that step and then next step, it all just reveals itself when you're in that aligned place. Clear on what your vision is, clear on what your goals are. It's like how all of it just comes together.
Awesome. And what you're saying here is it all sort of comes together. It implies another law that we have to follow here, which is not a law of just striving or pushing, but a law of allowing in.
Absolutely. When we are pushing and striving and doing so much, and let me ask you a question. If I was going to say, you know what, Michael, I have a gift for you. Hold out your hand. How would you hold out your hand?
Oh, I guess like that. Yep. Sounds good.
Right? You're not going to go here. Here.
No, the closed fist isn't going to, well, that's going to have a really negative response. Yeah. Show me what you got.
You're right. Yeah. I'll take your gift. But, we can't be in a closed place and expect to receive, right? We can't be filled up. Like if you think of a vase completely filled with water, you can't put any more water in or it's going to spill over. We have to empty out. We have to release. And we have to be at least open in our energy. Now, what's open in our energy? Acceptance. We may not approve of things, but if we accept things, we're in our more open, energetic space, right? When we can really be in a space of non-judgment and compassion and love, there's that emotional scale again, right? The lower level emotions of fear, of doubt, of worry, it constricts us. It's like this. It's like saying, universe, I want to make more money.
With a closed fist, yeah.
We're not in a receiving place.
Thank you. So on that note, you have a beautiful, beautiful line that you say here. If you can make the shift away from looking at what each client or project can give to you and look instead from the perspective of what you can give, you'll dramatically change your relationship with money.
Absolutely. When you go into any different situation, one of the principles, obviously, of the law of sufficiency and abundance is there's ways that we think in lack and limitation. And there's ways that we can think in abundance. And one of those ways is a lot of times people go into a situation and think, well, what can I get? I'm going to get money. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get accolades. I'm going to get whatever it is, what can I get? It's a very taking, very predatory type of energy. And it's coming from lack. But when you're coming into a situation of what can I give? I mean, to be opulent, that's like to go into any situation. It's like, what am I here to give? That opens up. That's the allowing space. That's an abundant space. And when I'm here how can I give to you? How can I support you? You're going to like me a lot better than, hey, what can you give me? It's a very different energy. It doesn't feel good.
Speaking about energy, how do we beautify our energy bodies?
Oh, it's looking at the times. So here's a perfect example, right? Yep. We set it into, we're here. Say we want to make, I don't know, I'm just going to make up numbers. Say we make $50,000 a year. We want to make $100,000 a year. There's a vibrational gap between making $100,000 a year and making $50,000 a year. And in order to get here, we need to raise our vibration. And the way that we do that is the minute we make a vision, we make a goal, everything that's not of this is going to come up screaming, like here's all your limitations, right? And that's where we have to go into work, because it's like, if we can then, what am I thinking? What emotion? I'm feeling anxious right now. I have a perfect example. I remember a couple of years ago, I had just massive success, and I was doing $1 million launches on my coaching academy. And I was laying there getting a massage, and all of a sudden I had this whoosh of anxiety come over me. And I'm like, what is this anxiety about? Well, I knew it was fear, and because I'm doing this work for a long time. And I know that underneath any type of fear is some kind of lack or limitation. So I started to discover, okay, what thoughts am I thinking? And the thought that popped up was, you've used it all up. And I'm like, I've used what all up? I mean, it sounds like Sybil talking like this, but, I was like, you used what all up? And it's like, your success. So there was a part of me that felt there was only a pie, and I've eaten up all my pie. And so that part of me was coming to the surface, because for me to get to my next level and to be able to manifest the thing that I said I wanted to manifest, and to be able to bridge that gap, that thought, that belief, that perspective was in there. And so I had to literally just like engulf myself with the feeling of abundance, and even talk to that part and add light to that part, and tell that part, I don't have a pie. I've got a bakery. I could make as many pies as I want to. And that's the truth for all of us, is that we're not limited by the amount of success that there is. We're not limited by the amount of abundance or love or anything that we want. There's no limitation. The limitations that we hear inside of our heads are a lie. It was imprinted in there. If we want to talk about basic energy, here's what happens, right? We're supposed to be pliable, like breathing in, breathing out. There's that allowing space. Like, what we perceive, we look at a tree, we look at a flower, and it's like we can take in that beauty. But if someone says something rude to us, or someone hurts us or betrays us, we constrict, right? Out of self-protection. And when we do that, what happens is the energy gets stuck. So it gets blocked. And now that energy, because energy doesn't just stay stagnant, energy is always constantly moving up, down, around, through. It always has to move. It never ends. It never dies. It never is, diminished or even dissolves. Energy is just energy. So it's starting to create within a block a vortex of energy, like a caged lion, if you will, And that energy creates this, and it creates thoughts that set up based on that block. And then those thoughts then lead to perspectives, to beliefs. And now we're here looking at this block, and now we see evidence of it, right? The belief is like, oh, see, it's true. Rich people are greedy, right? As an example, when it comes, like if you're just listening, what my dad used to say. And then there becomes this belief. And then that's who you attract, because we create from our beliefs. But when you release the energy of that lion, of that tiger, and you release the block, the energy flows away, and so does the whole vortexual, setup. So when you can attend to, anytime your energy dips, pay attention, what is that thought that led to me feeling that way? You can change a thought very easily. You can change a thought from lack to abundance. And when you do, it's those tiny, itty bitty shifts that I did 20 years ago, that I still do today when they come up. That changes the absolute trajectory of your life.
Woohoo!
I love your enthusiasm.
Thank you. So Christy, I want to take off my coaching hat. I want to put it on you. And what one homework assignment would you give people today so that they leave here and they take action toward their quantum success?
I would honestly ask yourself those 3 questions. That's where I would have anybody start there is, look at what is lacking in your life, or look at a situation in which you want it to be better. How do you want it to be better? Identify what is that contrast? And it might be, many things. It might be in the area of your career. You feel you don't make enough money. You feel like you're, you don't have the kind of lifestyle that you want because you're working too much. So maybe you're working too many hours. Maybe you're tired of that boss that you have because he's critical or she's critical. And maybe you want to have a boss that's different. Or maybe you want to start your own business. Look at all the ways and all the intricacies of all the things that you're complaining about, or that you feel dissonance in, that you feel limited by. And ask yourself, what do I want? If it's not making enough money, I want to make X amount of money, because it's good to be specific, right? Having enough money, well, when's it going to be enough, right? So what would that look like? What would that feel like? And why? Why do you want that? Why do you want that new level of income? What do you think you're going to do with that new level of income? Are you going to be able to be more generous? Are you going to be able to take your parents on a vacation? Or are you going to be able to put your kids in the proper school? Are you going to be able to eat better, join a gym, get a personal trainer, pay the bills on time, take that vacation? What is it? Why do you want it? We all want it for different reasons. But most of us just don't want to sit around with a pile of money, right? We want to do something with that money, or we assign that if I had more money, then I'm going to feel a certain way. What do I want? Why do I want it? And how will I feel? And then spend as consistently as you can the energy and the vibration of that particular essence. And when this happens, you're going to buoy up. And when the lack and limitation comes up, that's when you need to stop. Because for me, I don't feel like there's all this subconscious stuff going on, right? It's like our point of attraction is in the now. And we know if we're feeling bad or if we're feeling good in the present moment. If you're feeling bad, take a moment to just process the energy of it. It takes 90 seconds to actually process the energy of it. Stop and take a moment to change and shift that thought. Do the inner work, because you'll find yourself buoying up, and then all of a sudden you're making more money. You've got more opportunities. You've got the things that you want, but you're feeling great in the process of it.
Woohoo!
I'll do woohoo!
All right.
I want to have a conversation with everybody, and at the end of it, have everybody go, woohoo!
I think the world would be a better place, Christy. Woohoo! What advice would you give parents to help their kids learn how to use this energy?
Well, I have a 7-year-old and I have a 9-year-old, and I do this work with them all the time because, we as parents, we're raising human beings. So we have to teach them from right and wrong, and we have to teach them what's appropriate and what's not. And so I find my son Alex, for example, I've given them affirmations before they could even talk. So we would say affirmations to them like, you are free, you are powerful. But then when they were able to start talking, it was like, I am free, So they've been saying this. And if they get in a negative space, I have them do I am statements before they go to bed or when they need to shift something. One of my kids got in trouble at school and he's like, I'm a bad kid. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Stop that thought. Tell yourself, I'm good. I'm love, and really allow them to come back to that alignment within themselves. Even just yesterday, it was kind of rainy here in Montreal and Alex was doing one of those, I'm bored. It's like, and you could say as a parent, go out and do this. You have this, and they're like, I'm bored. So I said, let's do something fun. So the four of us, my husband, my two boys, and myself, we all sat around and I said, what are the most fun things that we can think of? We're not going to poo-poo anything right now. We're not going to criticize it. We're not going to say, oh, that's not possible. We're just going to make a huge list of the fun things that we want to do, right? And so we started going around like a vortex and they would come up with crazy stuff. And it's like, write it down, have a pizza party. Great. Write it down. Go get balloons and suck helium. Great. Write it down. Go to play laser tag. Write it down. By the end of it, that little boy that was like, life sucks, I'm bored. He was like, what are we going to do first? And he got that like zest for life again. So kids are easy. It's just, kids, the thing about parenting is that they are just sponges and they soak up the energy in the environment that they're in. And they want to have fun. They're hooked up to fun. They're hooked up to their joy. It's usually the parents that try to, get them to do this or get them to do that or don't do this or don't do that. Same with your kids. Stop focusing on what you don't want them to do and focus on what you do want them to do. Instead of saying, don't be mean to your brother, we say, can you please talk nicely to your brother? Could you please speak kindly to your brother? Do you love your brother? Yes. Well, can you speak with love? I'll ask them sometimes when I'm hearing them bicker, I'm like, what kind of relationship do you want to create with your brother? You want a good relationship or do you want a bad relationship? Because very concrete thinking as kids, right? It's either good or bad, up or down, left or right, and it's like, I want a good relationship. Okay, so the way you're now speaking to your brother, is that going to create a good relationship or is that going to create a bad relationship? A bad. So what could you say instead? Maxim, could you please turn off the TV? I'm trying to read. So it's teaching them how to be living based on universal principles. As a parent, I try to teach my kids to act and be according to how the universe. If they're throwing tantrums and are in a negative mood, I'll say, wow, I wouldn't keep that up for too long because you know what you're going to get. You're going to get more of the same. Law of attraction is always paying attention. And I love it when something happens or something and Maxim will say to my son Alex, that's karma. That's law of attraction. You attracted that. So it allows them to take personal responsibility for themselves.
Awesome. So on that note, what personally brings you the greatest happiness or what I call the woohoo factor?
There's so many things, honestly. Working with clients and seeing them shift and change their lives is absolutely one of those just like, yes, I'm so on purpose. Being able to just sit and cuddle. It's the simple things like having my boys, come in the bed with my husband and I in the morning and all four of us cuddling together, or being in Maui, being on beautiful vacations and seeing beautiful sunsets and traveling. I mean, there's just so many things that really bring me a lot of joy in this life. And because I attune myself there, right? I look for what's right and good instead of what's wrong and bad.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
On that note, I love it. I love it. I love it. Where can people go to find your beautiful book and to find out more?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to give all of your listeners a free book. So it's a hardcover book. It's a book worth $24. All I ask is that you pay for the shipping. So you can go to quantumsuccessbook.com. So quantumsuccessbook.com. And you'll see right there, you can get the book for free. And I just ask that you pay for the shipping. So it's about $7 in the US, $14.95 if you're international. And with that also, I'm going to give you a fast start guide because the book comes out in September. So I want you to start really chewing on this information right away. And so I have a video that goes with an action guide, asking you questions, allowing you to really start shifting your vibration from what you don't want to what you do want.
That is a huge Woohoo!
Woohoo!
So if you didn't get quantumsuccessbook.com, come on over to inspirenationshow.com and we'll get you over for your free book to quantumsuccessbook.com. So awesome, Christy. I just have one more question and then hopefully time for a brief meditation. Any last words of wisdom before we do a meditation here?
Yes. If I could change my life and what my life reflects back to me now based on where I was, and thousands of clients have done it from, healed some really horrific things in their life to finally feel that they matter and that they're connected and that they have the power to create what they want. If we can do it, so can you. And I would love to help everybody into a centering meditation and to bring into the essence of what they want.
Let's do it, except if you're driving down the road, why don't we do the centering once you get home?
Perfect. Yes, if you're operating heavy machinery or if you're driving a car, probably pause this and come back to it later. But I'm ready if you are, Michael.
I'm game.
Okay, perfect. So go ahead and close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do, instead of just a deep breath, really take a breath in and breathe into your diaphragm. And then let your breath out. And as you take another breath in, I'd like you to imagine that you're calling light to yourself. Just imagining that all the corners of the universe are starting to collect light, and all this light is going into you. So as you're breathing in, imagine that you're breathing in light. And as you breathe out, imagine that you're releasing any energy that you don't want. Also start imagining that you're calling back all of your life force energy, your soul energy to you. We have a lot of our energy invested in the people and the places and the projects and the work and everything that we're doing. Just imagine that all of your life force energy is coming back to you in this moment and breathing in that light, breathing in that connection. And as you breathe out, just once again, breathe out any energy that you don't want. And allow yourself to experience about a foot above your head a beautiful ball of light. What I'd like you to do is imagine that this light contains the essence that you want. So essence being freedom, success, joy, abundance, compassion, love, whatever that essence is for you, peace, harmony. And just imagine that this light and energy is coming down through the top of your head and filling up your whole entire body, inside your body, into every single cell, and outside your body. So it's almost like you're under a waterfall of light, a beautiful shower of light, and it's just cleansing your energy, releasing all the energy that no longer serves you, that all the energy you've taken on from other people, all the energy from your past. And just imagining that in its place is being replaced with this beautiful essence of, I'm going to use freedom as an example, this beautiful essence of freedom. And as you start to feel this energy inside your body and outside your body, think of the word, the essence of what you want to bring in. So for me, it's freedom. And what does that feel like? And start to feel that feeling in every single cell in your body. Imagining that you could feel that in your emotional body, which is the area around your gut, your intuition. And that as you start to just even feel a little part of that inside of your body, it starts to grow. It starts to expand, almost like a sun coming over this horizon. It starts to get brighter. And this feeling, this essence grows in every single part of your body. Maybe it starts out as a little dime and comes into a quarter and then turns into a ball and gets bigger into a basketball and a beach ball. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger until you are floating in that essence of what you want, feeling that sense of freedom. And allow yourself to then engage your mind of what would you be doing if you felt this way all the time? What would you do in your career? What would that look like? What would shift? What would change? What's that vision that you have? Allow yourself to just continue to feel that essence of freedom. expand it, intensify it. If you had a dial in front of you and say you're maybe at a 3 or 4 on the essence scale, if you turned up the dial just a little bit and amplified, intensified that energy and that feeling inside of you, just to let yourself feel even more. And then turn up the dial even more, allowing it to just expand even more. We are energy towers, and we are the ones that are masters of our energy. And we can turn it up or we can turn it down however we want. So just continue to turn up the dial until you feel what feels comfortable to you. And allow yourself to just go all the way to 10 if you want. Feeling that sense of freedom in every single cell in your body, letting it go outside of your body, letting it go out in front of you, paving a path, clearing a path so that every person you come in contact with, you feel free. Everything that you do, you feel free. Everything that you have choices and you feel free. And allow yourself to just come back into this moment, taking another deep breath in. And as you breathe in, bring in more light and more energy. And as you breathe out, just feel yourself back into the chair that you're in, feeling your hips on the chair, wiggling your fingers and your toes. And when you start to open up your eyes, feel the essence of the freedom still inside of your body. Sometimes it's easy to feel that with our eyes closed, but feel what it feels like to have that pulsating, that new vibration that you have attuned to. Let that just come out your fingertips and down your toes and in your heart center. And as you open your eyes, just imagine you're seeing through the eyes of freedom or the essence that you desire.
Woohoo!
That was a little more grounded.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christy. This has been truly phenomenal, a lot of fun, and a real channel changer for people.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Hope you enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get quantum success, and begin manifesting your success today and shine bright. Woohoo! Woohoo! Awesome. This was awesome, Christy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I really appreciate you having me on, Michael. It was a great conversation.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!